Hey everyone, all you need to know for this season is that S-Force won. Mason's the best deck builder, and we're glad to be back. What's up, everyone? Oh man, Zach, it has been time, dude. Man, S-Force, the Chaos variant, absolutely trumped the mess out of Zach's Earth Machine.
Absolutely destroyed me. For some reason, I cannot sit on an impenetrable 4,000 defense monster, and I am shocked that I cannot. I am also terrible at playing Earth Machine, so there's a lot that went into that.
All I'm saying is that Mason best deck builder, Pendulum best deck, and it's not even the good version of S-Force now because they had some new support cards. Zach, did you know that? They got retroactive and one that I don't remember how to pronounce. But one of them, retroactive, is like another warrior target. Nice. But it bounces itself back to hand in order to summon from hand. And you don't have to banish anything as a result. So it dodges effects. It does a lot of different things.
That is so much better.
The other one, when special summoned, can it does something with the banish zone. I don't remember what it is, but the cool effect that it does is that on your turn only, like once per turn, regular, you can destroy all monsters in a column with an S-Force monster.
See, that's sick. That's cool. Getting to use that arresting and finally doing something with that. And
exactly. Like not just negating the effect, but so yeah, man, we're anyway, y'all, it's been a while, been a long football season for me and Zach. And Zach, man, a few different things have happened. Talking about arrests, Zach, what happened, man?
Oh man, I am locked up now, boys.
That's right. Our
all
boys
your chances are gone. I am married now. I'm super excited about that. Got married back in October. It was absolutely fantastic. It was the exact thing I wanted. Everything about it was great. Everything about it really was, and it's fantastic now. Getting to be married. We've done all of that, and yeah, it's been a good time. And Mason, I'm not totally sure, but did something big happen in your life during the time of our little sabbatical here, or?
Man, I'm trying to think
of the timing for that.
Yeah,
we stopped about at the end of summer.
We did. Your boy's a teacher now. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, there's that. No, I guess you got engaged back in the spring. So
I did. Yeah. That was in January, my guy. But I am getting. I'm gonna follow suit with Zach getting married in March, so I'm pretty excited about that. About time that we get to be Yu-Gi-Oh wife guys. Be pretty exciting.
It'll be a lot of fun, and we are super happy to be there, guys. There's so much that we have to talk about. We have been able to take a lot of the time. First off, we're both football coaches, and we have to make money somehow. This is something we like to do for fun. It's a really good time, and whether we make money on this or not, we want Yu-Gi-Oh to be accessible for the general public, because right now it's just not, and that's okay. We want to be able to translate as much as we can for all of you and make it where you don't feel so stuck at the beginning of playing.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
Trying to shorten the time it takes to be at least a decent Yu-Gi-Oh player. We're not even trying to be the very best all the time, but we will give you the tools that we know and that we understand. And if we don't know, we will find people that do. We know a lot of people that are really pretty decent Yu-Gi-Oh players, and they'd be happy to help us out in a lot of different ways. So Mason, we have something new here in the newest series to get us started this season. What do we got?
All right, y'all. So we feel like out of the couple different things that new players struggle with, one is of course learning the mechanics of the game, and we will not pretend that we covered every single individual game mechanic and how it works, but hopefully if you guys want to know more about Yu-Gi-Oh, you can check out some of our first episodes, and you can track down what does it mean about normal summoning, fusion summoning, synchro, link, Xyz, all of it. We try to cover that in pretty good detail there. But the other thing that a lot of new players miss out on, it seems, is understanding the meta, right? What does meta mean? What decks are good? What should I actually invest my money in, right? Because I mean, at the end of the day, Yu-Gi-Oh is it's a trading card game, you want to be able to go out and buy the cards and hopefully be able to enjoy that time with your friends, or future rivals, and play some Yu-Gi-Oh. And so, all that said, today we are introducing the Code Break series. Zach, what's kind of the thought behind this series?
All right, here's what we got with Code Break. What's going to happen with this is we are going to take some top meta deck, right? And some of our results may be based on OCG rulings. For example, today's episode is going to be featuring those pretty well exclusively, and here's why. We have several tournaments coming up this weekend as of time of recording. And so we'll be getting results in, and we'll try to break that up, and we'll give you guys an update next week on what's going on there in regards to how this particular deck pertains to us. Up until that point, we want to teach you guys how can you beat this deck and how can you do it for the expensive way, if you so choose, or how you can save a few bucks and just use one of the cards you can pull from a structure deck or something like that.
Yeah, that's that. We want to give you guys tools to actually be able to play. And so hopefully this is a nice, easy, accessible point. Today we are talking about burbs. See ya.
Burbs.
Access granted.
All right, so we weren't super clear. Burbs is not talking about, well, no, they're both level 1. Anyway, we're talking about Fluentaries today, kids. We're talking about the journey from, I have to assume, the North Pole to the South Pole. I don't totally understand the lore of what's happening here, but evidently we got a central bird that's traveling to all the different regions of the world.
We start with the tiny bird. The tiny bird goes flap, and flies into the different parts of the world. They start out in the north. They go and slowly make their way to the south. And it is good time had by all, especially England when they get to America. That's all I'm saying.
That's all we're saying, kids. America, best nation, TCG, clearly handles the coronavirus well. So, gosh, man. No, my school's got to go back. Dude, my school has to go back to masks because of the new strand, the new fraternity that's coming around. So we're pretty.
Shut up, man.
I can't take credit for that. That is my fiance's joke.
That's a good one. That's good. I appreciate that joke.
But we are talking about Fluentaries. Fluentaries is a brand new deck, relatively speaking. Came out in Burst of Destiny, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
And so that is, late 2021. And we haven't had any actual tournaments with it. But there is a ton of speculation as far as what exactly this deck is probably capable of. So all that being said, it's had a pretty decent amount of representation in the OCG. Zach, you want to kind of walk us through how this is getting popularized?
Absolutely. So with the OCG, to throw my reference out, we'll also put it in show notes, everything like that. Our reference for a lot of the information we have is a website called roadtotheking.com, which I think is a ballin' name. And kudos to this guy. As soon as I have any money, I'm going to start submitting to this guy's Patreon because I'm probably getting all my resources from him. He is fantastic. Whoever they are, anything like that. They do such a great job going and summing up all the tournaments. Now, to make sure we're on the same page, our tournament results are coming from Konami sanctioned events, right? We are not looking at the random locals that was had in the random shop.
Yep.
Okay. We are pulling straight Road to the King. They went and found these specific stores, and maybe in the OCG, maybe there's at least appears to be a lot more stores that are involved as Yu-Gi-Oh sanctioned stores. In the TCG, that's harder to find, at least here in America. It's just all kind of spread out all over the nation, and it makes it really, really tough. Here in the TCG, we've had remote duels. Remote duels have been the only way that we've had to get anything really done and everything like that. And so
that includes with COVID.
that includes with COVID. Like remote duels has been it. Now the OCG has done.
Totally missed
I'm
it.
so sorry. I missed what you said.
No, I was making a joke about how we've handled COVID.
Oh no, we've done a great job, and because of that, remote duels are still here. So
Oh my.
now, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, remote duels are actually really cool in that it actually allows some accessibility in terms of all you need really is you need a camera watching your face, usually a laptop, computer, something like that, and you need some device that can show your game state, and a lot of people use their phones or something like that, and they can play in tournaments like that. Makes it incredibly accessible. So I encourage all of you, if you get a chance, go ahead. What's the worst that happens? You lose? Congrats, you just started playing the game. It's okay.
That's
It doesn't
right.
matter.
It's a long road to being king of the games, kids.
It's a long road. Can I get that on a flag? It's a long road to be king of the games. And I don't know why.
Yeah, it's
but
got
I need
the
like Hulk
one.
Hogan doing
Yeah.
this.
That's
Like,
right. It's got the character from King of the Hill, right?
Bang it, Bobby. I know that's not the original word, but this is a clean podcast, kiddos.
You know that's right.
Now,
Mostly.
let me go back to what we were talking about with that. The OCG, they have a lot more sanctioned stores. There's a lot more in-person play happening currently.
Yeah.
That being the case, we went to Road to the King. They had a great little pie graph to explain everything, and I can post that link down. I'll show you guys exactly where I got my information from. And they post weekly articles, keeping updates on the meta, who's winning, who's not, whatever like that. And it's interesting what happens. Fluentaries is roughly second place right now in terms of the general meta over there.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead, Mason.
No, I'm just affirming.
Okay. We got to take a lot of looks on why is it cool, why is it important, everything like that. And a lot of the reason is its stun ability. A lot of the reason is its stun ability. What do we mean by that? It locks out of special summoning, or it locks out of effects. Or there's also an archetype UCT that just flips everything upside down because it's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, this deck is exceptional. And the ways that it can turbo those things out are incredible. I mean, pretty much every single card to some respect allows you to have another normal summon, right?
Every single one of them. So all the level 1 monsters, just to give you guys some background on the deck, I guess we can hit that while we're talking about it. All
Sure.
the level 1 monsters, all the normal summons that you have in the deck, or your starters in the deck, they all give you one more normal summon. All right. Now, that can't be stopped. We'll talk about ways to stop that here in a second. So you normal summon, you get some kind of recursive or search or something like that. So let me go and talk just super quick about what all we have in the deck in terms of breaking it down a little bit, so you guys know kind of what you're looking for and whatever like that. We have Eaglin, which adds your boss monsters, adds like a level 7 or higher, whatever the word, I think it's level 7 or higher, winged beast to your hand, which adds this really neat tech that the OCG has been using here recently. Rabina, which is my personal preference if you are going to be a starter in the deck, if you would like to play this deck. It's not awfully expensive as far as I can tell. It's not cheap, but it's not terrible either.
Yeah, I think especially here in the TCG, it's far more because it's just not proven yet. Because I mean, there are some really unique, well, not even unique, just pretty general ways to stop it. But we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, so there's Rabina, which is a Robin, right? So Eaglin, Eagle, Rabina, Robin. There's Stree here in a second. I don't know what bird that is, but it's something.
Fair.
Rabina adds other level 1s. There's Stree, which banishes from grave on summon, right? So if you have a way to summon during your opponent's turn, DD Crow, and all that kind of thing, it's really nice. There's Toka, which is based off a toucan, right? So you pronounce that however you like. That's entirely up to you. It is your recursiveness tool. It adds from the banished pile back to your hand. Really good. And so as a worst case scenario, you could have 12 starters in your deck, and that's not even counting spell cards and stuff like that. So that gets us into Dragon Link level starter ability, which is nuts.
I mean, just about everything. If you open up, more than one Fluentaries monster, it's got to be almost specifically like a lot of toucan, right? Because every single one, Robina or Eaglin, either one, are just wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous cards. And then there's the bosses. There's Impin. Don't know what that's based off of. Oh, Emperor Penguin. I do know what
There you
that's
go,
based
buddy.
off of.
I was about to say.
And that's your big floodgate. It makes it where if your opponent is going to use attack position monsters, they can't activate effects.
That means links, y'all.
Mm-hmm. And so no links for all of a sudden. And all those effects, all activated effects are negated. Plus any special summons or anything like that, like Rocket Tracer, as an example. You better not put it out here in attack position if I've got my board state set.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is Snow, which is the other one. That's the one that flips things over, right? Flips things into face down defense. And I'm trying to think of the bird it's based on. Anyway.
Snow Owl?
Nope, too easy. Probably not that. So
Probably
we're going to move on with our day. What this deck does so well is it sets you up over and over for your turns after, and banishing it doesn't bother it. And that is the traditional way that you get rid of a control deck, is you banish all their crap.
That's right, because it's always a resource game.
Every single time. And from a banish pile, unless they happen to play Pot of Acquisitiveness, they probably can't get their stuff back. And so that's what makes this deck so interesting, is that it doesn't touch the grave. The spell and trap cards do, but that's it. And even then, whatever. They don't care. Yep. So it really is a good deck. It's tough to beat, everything like that. A lot of people like to use Ryza, the Mega Monarch. I don't even know how new it is. I didn't keep track of that. I didn't write that down. It's not a new card, or at least it's just a retrain of a really old card. And what it does is you get to go and shuffle away your opponent's stuff. So if you're normal summoning Ryza during your opponent's turn, while they have, you'll hear it DPE, Destroy Phoenix Enforcer. It's the Destiny Hero card. I still don't think it's that good, but I'll probably die thinking that. The way people get rid of it, because that deck is popularized in the OCG, it's taken Dragoon's place, because the monsters in the main deck are effect monsters, so at least they do something more than just sit there.
I mean, Dragoon's also banned, is it not?
I guess over Dragoon is banned over there, yeah. So DPE took its spot, and DPE, the way that Fluentaries took care of DPE is while it's engraved, they would go normal summon Ryza, shuffle it back, and now all of a sudden it can't come back and start popping stuff again, which is pretty good. So let's get into the next little piece about this deck. There's a lot of different stuff that we need to talk about. First, it normal summons everything, then special summons everything like that. Let's see, what else? It's a stun deck. It's a control stun deck. It's what it does. Mason, you got any more thoughts on that before we go into how do I win?
Yeah, the only other thing that they will like to include to utilize that stun strategy well is the barrier statue of the Stormwinds. Hilariously, a level 4 or lower winged beast for some unknown reason. So they could just straight up lock you out of special summoning. So you have to be extremely careful. Recognize, this is a very legitimate card that you're probably going to have to deal with.
Now, to make a point, one of the biggest decks right now is Tri-Brigade, and that's also full of winged beasts, so they don't really mind. They also use barrier statue, so maybe if you're playing against them or something like that, number one, run Zombie World. It's the funniest tech to play because it ruins all their stuff, and it's really funny. And honestly, it wouldn't hurt to play Zombie World in this deck, because this deck doesn't care about that. They just need winged beasts from deck to hand, and nothing goes in the graveyard. So,
well, you have to normal summon a winged beast.
Oh, that would throw it off. Never mind then.
Yeah.
Don't
but
do that.
Either way, yeah, Fluentaries is very much a control stun strategy if they can help it. So I think the optimized version will not be, an overwhelming combo that sets up just a tremendous amount of negates, but I think it'll work a little bit closer to maybe Dino or something like that. Pure Dino. I should clarify.
Yeah.
So how
yeah.
do we win?
How do we win? You don't. If you don't listen closely, dang it.
Word. All right. So the first thing we wanted to make sure you were aware of, deal with the normal summon. A lot of decks struggle with this, so this probably isn't a new technique to deal with some strategies, but with this particular one, if you have a way to deal with the normal summon, and more importantly, the effect, but if you have Solemn, they can't normal summon in the first place. Clearly that's hoping you go first, but maybe you include 3 copies of Solemn Judgment or a couple copies of Solemn Warning as well in your side deck. Another one that I think is very funny is Pulling the Rug.
What does Pulling the Rug do? Because I have no idea what that card is.
Pulling the Rug was popular back when Monarchs were problems.
Of course it was.
It specifically handles I believe when a monster is normal summoned, it will negate the effects and destroy the normal summoned monster, and it's a counter trap, so that it can only be responded to by another counter.
That's dope. That's cool.
Yeah. So it's just very, very funny, and it works specifically for normal summons, and I don't believe you have to pay life points to use it. So I mean, life points are not always the biggest resource in the world, because I mean, you can still win with 1 life point, but yeah, it's pretty funny how that works together. I'm gonna double check this to make sure.
Well, I'm checking the Forbidden Limited list to make sure it's not banned.
It shouldn't be.
That's a fantastic card. Nope, not banned. Double checking again for limited or anything.
Still so negate.
You're good. Sorry.
No, my fault. It says negate the activation and effect of an effect monster whose effect activated when the monster was normal summoned, even itself, and destroy that effect monster.
See, that's fantastic. That is such a good card for that.
It is.
Now, we got some other stuff. Going first, not really the issue. Mason, how in the world do you deal with this deck if you're going second?
Well, if you're going second, gosh, if you're going second, I hope you're stocked up on some hand traps or spell traps. Right, this deck's natural weakness is the fact that they don't have just a ton of ways to deal with spells and traps. I will say some Fluentaries decks will try to use a Dogmatica package, but only 3 Nadir Servant and Ecclesia, because what that allows them to do is destroy a card on the field by sending Intus to the graveyard. So I think going second, make sure you're stocked up on hand traps, right? Especially Valor or Impermanence. They don't have a great way to deal with that. If you can manage 2 pieces of interaction going second, or honestly going first, I honestly don't think they'll be able to play well through it. Then their combo ends up absolutely having to have several pieces of the Fluentaries deck, and past 2, I don't think they can do it.
Yep. And by being a stun deck, by consequence of that, they're going to play a significant amount of back row and just hope they pull one of their starters to see what they can make happen. But if you affect Valor, their normal summoned monster, now they're just sitting there with some low attack thing in attack position. Most decks that you play today are going to be able to play through that and do so tremendously easily.
I will say that what Fluentaries does really well is the fact that they banish themselves when they leave the field. And when they're in the banished zone, if another Fluentaries is normal summoned, they can add themselves back to hand once per copy, except for the big guys, which is interesting. So what you end up having to do is, if you can help it, I would be prepared to OTK ASAP.
Yeah.
that is what makes Fluentaries so difficult to deal with. Their turns 1 through 3 are nightmares to deal with. If you can get them to simplified, you will, I think, probably win.
Yeah.
If you can't, it's no
Now,
guarantee.
to make this a little more general, Fluentaries, it's a control deck. A lot of back row, a lot of trying to control the board state so they can control resources, right? If that's the case, the way to beat them is to beat them earlier than later. Otherwise, they get all their crap back, or they're playing in that simplified game state. And that's what we like, because oftentimes our little, like, let's say 1600 attack normal summon monsters can probably beat over theirs, right? And so, that being the case, making it, if they don't have monsters on the field, they can't do things. The entire deck cannot do things.
Yeah, I completely agree. So if you're packing like Dark Hole or things like that, they don't have, I don't believe, inherent destruction immunity. So, but they do have extremely powerful monsters and some really strong trap cards. So if you are going second, if you know you're going second, of course you side in the things that you want to have: lightning storms if you can afford it, MSTs, cosmics. I would focus even more on that. If you have dark holes, Raigeki, any of those, I think that would be good. I do think, though, that let's say they've established their board, or excuse me, they are starting their turn. What are the specific cards that you want to hit as they're setting up, if you can help it? And
if
with
possible, if their best starter is Rubina, 100%, no questions about it. That is their best starter. If you can effect failure that, or let's like talk through the expensive stuff real quick. If you are willing to pay so much money for this, if you play something like Forbidden Droplet, you will kill them in the first turn. Absolutely will kill them, because now you're sending stuff off. A lot of decks play in the graveyard anyway, so all of a sudden you're doing a lot of insane stuff to go in and pop off using that card. If you are not going to pay an expensive amount or anything like that, the next sort of medium low option is going to be Infinite Impermanence. You get to go and negate effects of a normal summon monster. Now all of a sudden they've used their normal summon. They can't really special summon anything. Like they might go Link Revo at that point, because by negating effects, now they can special summon. So they go Link Revo and pass because they can't do anything else.
Yeah. I mean, it feels good,
Yeah. It's hard being good at Yu-Gi-Oh. That's what
it's tough, So yeah, I would pack, if you're expecting to see a lot of Fluentaries at wherever you might be playing, I would try to find 3 copies of Effect Failure, 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence.
Absolutely.
And all of those cards are at different price points. I think the most valuable, like bang for your buck, would be Imperm, Veiler, and Droll. Droll and Lockbird, once your opponent adds 1 card to hand, you can discard this card to the grave, and then that shuts them off from adding cards from deck to hand, except by drawing them.
And one of the most marvelous parts, I'm going to check the text on Droll and Lockbird real quick. If you can do that during both your turn and theirs, now they can't get their recursiveness during their turn. So give me 2 seconds to make sure I'm not lying to you on that.
Sure.
But if I'm not, yep, except during the draw phase. That's the only restriction. So outrageously good card. Outrageously great recommendation by Mason.
Yeah. I think, I mean, those are the things that will help you win if you did not plan on going second. I mean, those are cards personally I would want in my main anyway. They're just exceptionally strong in today's game. And so I think if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do,
Yep. And we mentioned the straight up removal, Dark Hole, Harpy's Feather Dusters, great, MST, Lightning Storm, Twin Twisters, Cosmic, any of those are fine. It ain't got to be pretty. It's just got to be done type of thing. The less cards that they have on the field at a given time, the more advantage you will have. And if all they have are a bunch of like boss monsters in their hand or something like that, they have to tribute stuff. They can't just go and pull random crap at any point. They have to normal summon to normal summon to normal summon again and hope they can flood the field like that. Otherwise, with effect failure and things like that, you put yourself in a great position to be very successful.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think even though a lot of these suggestions are pretty general, admittedly, they're not particularly spicy text. They are the things that work. That I know if I am a Fluentaries player, I really don't want to see these cards. And
Okay.
so I think that is the way to go. So I mean, if you are maybe a little bit older of a player and you're just getting back into this, you might compare this most closely with like True Draco in a way. Not necessarily like the quickness of hand advantage that they get, because my understanding is True Draco draws a lot of cards.
Whole lot of cards, and then they just stop all the things from happening because they tributed over a continuous spell or continuous trap or whatever crap they decide to pull. It is a great control deck.
Mm-hmm.
It also doesn't do anything. Like not that it doesn't win a lot. It's that it makes it where the game state is you can sit there.
Mm-hmm. And we're still talking True Draco right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still talking True Draco, and like at worst, it's like an early version of Mystic Mind, but it uses monsters for it instead.
Yeah. So I mean, the reason we compare it to that is because of the control normal summon reliant strategy that we're kind of looking for, right? You might also compare it to Monarchs. Both of those would, I think, kind of work closely as far as the type of deck that you're looking at, right? So maybe you let's get it let's get a pulling the rug buyout going.
That would be hilarious if the cost of pulling the rug went up.
Oh man.
We talked about
oh man. You can't tell me that's not a good card against this deck.
Such a good card. Honestly, such a good card in general. Like, if we've never heard of it, it probably means it's fairly cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Realistic. Like, let me look it up on TCG right now. Pulling the rug.
All right, we got pulling the rug. Dear Yu-Gi-Oh! Gods and goddesses, tell us in this moment.
It is every bit of $5.
Unbelievably, other people are picking up on this.
Now, let me tell you guys, there are different versions of the card. There's a rare version, but still very much counter trap. It's still a very good card, especially when it's a normal summon to thing. Many decks today, things like even Madolche in a bad board state, goes in normal summon something and gets effects off it using now I'm gonna forget. I don't remember, whatever it is. And there's a bunch of different stuff, but there's also like a secret rare version of the card that's like $60 if you want to flex.
That would be a dope card to flex. But the point is, cards like that, look for things that handle normal summoned effects, right? Those are going to be the ones that help you out the most. Things that flip face down are not going to be helpful, like Dynamicious, or not Dynamicious.
UCT?
No, I'm thinking the Paleozoic card. Is it Dynamicious?
Target Banish?
No. Which one flips face down?
Canadian?
Yes, it is
I
Canadian.
think it's Canadian.
So you have cards like Paleozoic Canadia. They would not make that big of a difference because it doesn't negate the effect. It just flips face down. So while this would hurt a like link based deck, that would not hurt this deck. So if you see a Fluentaries card, recognize that the reason people are doing things is probably not to be going into the extra deck.
Yep.
Right? They're probably searching through their deck, finding the resources they need, and going from there. So, man,
now
I mean,
we've told you all that stuff. Expect that stun capability. They're going to prevent how many summons you get. They're going to prevent you from going into the extra deck. They're going to, like the dogmatic package Mason talked about earlier, that prevents use of the extra deck. That's a really powerful tool in today's game. And you have to be able to get rid of those monsters using expensive ways like Lightning Storm or not expensive ways like Dark Hole.
Yep.
And by doing those things, you do a whole lot of stuff. Let's wrap it up just a little bit, Mason. Let's talk about its crippling weakness real quick. Is what can it absolutely just not last through at the end of the day?
negating the effect of their normal summon.
That's it.
That is, I think, the best way to handle them, because if you can have that and even just one more piece of interaction, then they're done. Period.
Yep.
There's nothing else they're going to be able to do about it. So negate the effects of the normal summon. If you can do that, if you can just handle negating the summon at all, I think you'll put yourself in a much better position to OTK on the crackback.
Absolutely. All right, cool. That is sort of a summation of Fluentaries. If you are playing the deck itself, you want to find ways to stun your opponent. You want to keep them out of their extra deck. You want to go and set up some back row and see if you can go and sort of make even trades in what goes on. Trades that provide you advantage. You want to go, if you have to lose a card, then they lose 2 type of thing. So you want to control the board state.
Yeah.
If you are playing against this deck, please just pull some effect negation. It's what makes you a good Yu-Gi-Oh player. It's like invoke,
just draw it.
Just draw invocation. That's all you have to do to win. And that's how you know you're a good player. So that being the case, this deck, it's not crazy, right? All these decks you'll find as you look at the board state, you look at it and you say, what makes this really good? Right? And we want to be able to answer that question. What makes this deck very good is that it stuns you really, really well. If they can manage to pull both of the bosses, they'll go and number 1, negate your effects and make you sit on it. And most monsters are not all that powerful in defense position, so they'll just run over it next turn and just see if you can go and crack back after that. But then in addition to that, they can go and flip everything upside down, and it's a tough way to play against that deck. Certainly doable, just very, very, very tough, but it is not an unbeatable deck. So when you see somebody that has spent way too much money trying to make this deck the optimal build or whatever like that, you've got to understand that these cards, they're just cards. Okay, there's ways to beat them even if the board state is a little tough to deal with. And oftentimes this game's old enough, there's cheap ways to deal with those.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that Fluentaries, as crazy as it can be, I don't think it's necessarily an unfairly designed rather. I think it's exceptionally well designed, in fact, to meet the power level of what things are in the meta right now.
Yeah, I think they did a good job with it now. We expect in the upcoming meta, we expect things like a heavy Tri-Brigade, Bird Up, whatever you want to call it at this point, Tri-Brigade Zoo, or anything like that. That's the deck you're going to see. At the end of the day, it's some version of Zeus control. I don't know. It's not too bad. And when you're playing against these decks, see if you are a budget player, find the unfair ways to win. And I'm not saying cheat. Do not cheat against your opponent. Like I play
pulls out a gun.
Like all kind of stuff like that. Don't do anything dumb, but there's ways to beat these decks, and they're not impossible to beat in any capacity. And we will make sure you guys understand that it is very possible. We need to talk about, though, what's next on Codebreak.
Oh, on Codebreak? What's next? Only the scourge of all the souls and swords.
We're talking about Sword Soul next time. It's a synchro deck. We're going to talk a lot about it and see if we can help you guys understand. Here is what this deck is so good at, and here's why we need to watch for it. How in the world are you supposed to beat it at your given meta?
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for that one. In as much as there are several resources that have talked about Sword Soul. I mean, it's definitely one of the more popular decks that people are looking to for this next format. I think, man, Lyrilusk is crazy. I will say, if you are looking for, it's not like overly cheaper, but it's got some extremely unfair stuff. Lyrilusk is dope. So it's the other half of the Burb meta. So I think I strongly recommend it. So we've got those, and Sword Soul is I mean, it's got its own mess, and I'm excited to see what it does.
Yeah, the art for it's cool. If you base your decisions about Yu-Gi-Oh just on the artwork, the art for Sword Soul, in my opinion, is super cool. Anything that's worm related, because it's the spirits of those that have passed and whatever the lore is, and that's pretty neat. There's also some that's Brave Token and Mason. We're going to talk about the Phantom Knights.
Yeah, we are, boys. Phantom Knights are finally meta, kids. We've been meta for a few months. I remember when I was a wee lad in 2020 and just learning what these
We've
cards
barely
did.
been playing this game forever.
No, I actually am extremely excited that we get to take a look at Phantom Knight, both the iterations of what it has been, what it currently is, and what it will be once Brave Token stuff comes out. Because you'll learn the longer you're in this game. There's a lot of times that TCG players are not exactly original. So
we steal the OCG stuff, take Maxi out because it's banned, and we replace it with whatever unfair thing we think about.
Exactly. And that's how easy it is to
was
build
born.
That's right. So I'm excited we'll talk through that one eventually, and I'll walk you guys through what Phantom Knights wants to do at any given moment. So I'm excited, man. We're glad to be back for another season. We've got so much in store, that we still have to figure out what we're going to talk about, and we're just pumped to share all of those meandering thoughts with all of you. Zach, man, for the first time this season, do you have any words for us before we check out?
At the end of the day, remember, this is a game. Enjoy the time with the people you're playing with. If you don't enjoy the people you're around, and give it a couple times, right? My wife does such a good job when she tries food out, and I'll get to the point of this.
Wife now. See how he puts that, just slides that flex in.
So when I'm talking with my wife, she goes, no, every food place we ever try, we're going to try it 3 times, because the first time you probably didn't know what you wanted to get, and you probably got the wrong thing. The second time, it could have been a bad day. You don't know. And the third time, you should know what's going on, and you should know kind of what to expect when you go to that restaurant. Yeah. And so that being the case, if you have never been to a locals or anything like that, just try it out. These guys, they need people to talk to. That sounds terrible, but take the time, go and befriend these people. They probably have similar interests to you, right? And let me tell you, it's so nice to get to go and focus on a card game instead of having to worry about different world problems you may have to deal with, rent, utilities, whatever like that. It's nice to take a few minutes, not think about that, and just get to play a little card game and see what happens and enjoy it. Have fun. If you're not having fun, if you are overly competitive, take some time, relax, and just enjoy the game. Enjoy the people you're around, because they are so much more important than being significantly good at this game.
Yeah. That's it, man. We will see you guys next time. Deuces.
Class dismissed. Peace.
Word.
Please make sure to follow us on Twitter at Duelist101pod and Instagram at Duelist101podcast. And finally, make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.